In tennis, a player's schedule is usually set months in advance and rarely changes. But for Eala, everything was turned upside down in just a few days. The 20-year-old from the Philippines, the new hope of Asia, had a safe Asian swing planned: Jingshan, Suzhou, and then Hong Kong. However, after Aryna Sabalenka's unexpected withdrawal, an unforeseen door opened. Eala qualified directly for the China Open, the most grueling WTA 1000 tournament in Asia. While it sounds prestigious, whispers in the tennis world suggest this could be the most dangerous gamble of her young career. At a 125 tournament, Eala is almost guaranteed to go deep and collect points. But in Beijing, she'll face top 10 players as early as the second round. If she wins, she could make a massive leap in the rankings and pocket a huge prize. If she loses, she risks losing momentum and all the confidence she's built. So, which path should Alex choose? The safe one with little fanfare, or the one that's a high-stakes battle where a small mistake could ruin her entire season? And more importantly, this decision will show whether she is a promising player or if she's ready to become the new symbol of Asian tennis. The answer will surprise you at the end of this video. Don't miss it. And if you want to continue decoding the untold secrets of sports and celebrities, you can subscribe to the Pro Tennis Stories 360 channel, where the truth is always more exciting than fiction. The cost of greatness. At the Rafa Academy, where Eala once honed her every shot, the harsh philosophy has become a part of her tennis DNA. A former student recalls a memorable moment. There was a time when Eala trained so hard she fainted on the court. But instead of stopping the session, the coach just placed a water bottle next to her and said, "Get up, keep going." That brutality forged a steel will, turning Eala into a player who doesn't give up easily. But from that, concerns about burnout, both physical and mental exhaustion, began to emerge. Now, as she enters the 2025 China Open, the brutal memories from Mallorca seem to be returning. This is a golden opportunity for Eala to establish herself in front of millions of global viewers, but it's also a double-edged sword. The packed schedule, the bright media lights, and the huge expectations from her home country of the Philippines could become too heavy a burden for a 20-year-old girl. A sports psychologist has warned, at age 20, losing a match isn't a big deal. But if you lose your self-belief, your career is good as ends there. And that is the true cost of greatness, not just sweat or tears, but the risk of losing the very soul of tennis that has nurtured her from the beginning. Greatness, throughout history, has never been free. Behind every resounding victory are hundreds of hours of blood, sweat, and also moments of collapse. For Eala, the biggest question now is not whether she can beat Naomi Osaka or go deep into the bracket of death, but is a victory in Beijing truly worth the price she might pay? Her health, her youth, and the stability of her entire career? Because sometimes in sports, the scariest thing is not failure, but a victory that comes too early, at too high a price, leaving nothing left for the long road ahead. Block 10. Setting the stage for the payoff. The 2025 China Open is not just another tournament in the WTA 1000 series. It has become a stage of destiny, where Eala's future could be shaped in just a few matches. For a young player at 20, the opportunity to go deep means stepping directly into the ranks of the greatest Asian stars, alongside Li Na or Naomi Osaka. But the downside is equally brutal. With just one early loss, public opinion will not hesitate to turn its back, turning her from a rising star into a flash in the pan. What makes this story even more dramatic is the sharp contrast between hope and fear. The international media is full of praise, calling her the new hope of Asia, hailing every shot as proof of a rising generation of young players. Meanwhile, within her team, many coaches and physical trainers are cautious, even worried. They fear that Eala is being drawn into a gamble that is too big, where the pressure could erode the confidence and stability she has just built. For fans, especially in the Philippines, this journey is even more emotional. Eala has been praised as the barrier-breaking girl, carrying the pride of a nation with every step she takes. But when the first ball is served in Beijing, the audience will have to face the truth. This dream could become a launchpad that elevates her to legendary status, Or it could be just a glittering illusion, so fragile that it's ready to shatter after one quick defeat. The China Open is, therefore, not just a tournament. It is the ultimate test, a moment that exposes the fragile line between a star chosen by destiny and a young talent swallowed by circumstance. Stay until the end, because the truth behind this decision will make you see Eala in a completely different light. Payoff. Eala entered the 2025 Asian swing with a clear plan. But just one withdrawal from Sabalenka turned her entire journey into the most brutal test of her career. And now, the world no longer sees her as just a young player. She has become the focal point of three forces pulling at her: the dream of a nation, commercial pressure, and the raw truth of elite sports. A person on her team once said that after a loss in a minor tournament, Eala cried for hours in the locker room before wiping her tears and returning to practice. That detail reveals her true nature, a warrior who is still only 20, carrying too much on her shoulders. So, the decision to participate in the China Open is not just about choosing a tournament. It's a moment that exposes the fragility between a dream and an illusion. Maybe in a few years, we will look back and say, this was the turning point that turned Eala into the new symbol of Asian tennis. But it is also not out of the question that this was the crossroads that made her pay too high a price, too early. What do you think? Is this the character of a champion or the reckless gamble of youth? Leave a comment. And if you want to continue exploring the truths that few dare to talk about in sports and celebrity, you can subscribe to the Pro Tennis Stories 360 channel. Because what you don't know is what's truly worth watching. The breakout season that changed everything. From a nation where women's tennis had virtually no place on the world map, Eala turned 2025 into a landmark season. At the age of 20, the girl from the Philippines not only became a media sensation in Asia, but also made the entire WTA Tour wary of a rising star. The journey began at the 2025 US Open. For most fans, Eala's first-round win was just a minor detail in a tournament with hundreds of matches. But for her, it was a moment that opened a fated door. For the first time, a Filipino player stepped onto Arthur Ashe Stadium and left with a victory. It was no longer a dream, it was a statement. After New York, Eala didn't slow down. In Guadalajara, she won her first WTA 125 title, a milestone in her young career. Just a few weeks later, Eala caused another upset by advancing to the quarterfinals of the SP Open, where she defeated opponents with far more experience. In less than 6 months, from a little-known name, she suddenly became a topic of discussion among experts. Could Eala be the next Asian player capable of challenging the WTA order? What makes Eala different isn't just her record, but the way she wins. The resilient hitting, the ability to turn a match around from a disadvantageous position, and a breathtaking fighting spirit, all bear the clear mark of the Rafa Academy, where she once trained rigorously. A former coach once exclaimed, Eala didn't just learn how to hit a ball, she learned how to survive on the court. However, with the glory always come dangerous crossroads. When the China Open door unexpectedly opened, Eala faced the biggest choice of her career. Continue on a safe path with a guaranteed 125-level tournaments, or step into the WTA 1000 arena, where a single loss could wash away all the confidence she had just built. So what was the moment that truly turned Eala into a phenomenon? The win at the US Open, the Guadalajara Trophy, or the steel mentality forged in Mallorca? The answer will continue to be debated, but one thing is certain. Eala has officially entered the grand narrative of world tennis. The revelation. When the news broke that Aryna Sabalenka, the world's #1 player, had unexpectedly withdrawn from the 2025 China Open, the entire tennis world was shaken. For most players, it was just a small disruption in the draw. But for Eala, this news was nothing short of a fated door swinging open. From clinging to lower-level tournaments to accumulate points, she suddenly had a dignified entry into the main draw of one of the season's most prestigious events, the WTA 1000 in Beijing. This wasn't a normal schedule change. It was an opportunity that could shape Eala's entire career path. A veteran coach on the tour even commented, This moment could turn Eala into a new symbol of Asia, or it could crush the young confidence she's just built. This is because Beijing is no place for experimentation. As early as the second round, her potential opponent could be a top 10 player. And to earn the same number of points as a WTA 125 championship, Eala would have to reach the fourth round, a challenge that even many seasoned players have failed at. This event is like a high-stakes gamble. On one hand, it gives Eala the chance to become a global sensation in just one tournament. A victory against a top player could put her name on the map across Asia, turning her into a role model for an entire generation. But on the other hand, just one early loss could make Eala lose everything: points, match rhythm, and most importantly, her self-belief, the most fragile asset for a young player. Facing this crossroads, Eala's decision was no longer just about choosing a tournament to play. It was a fateful choice. Would she step onto the big stage and prove she's ready? Or would she choose to wait and gain more experience and confidence? One thing is for sure, from the moment Sabalenka withdrew, the world's eyes turned to Eala, and she and no one else has to face the harsh question: is she choosing a tournament or choosing her own future? The risk versus reward game. In elite sports, every decision is measured by numbers, and those numbers never lie. They have put Eala in a difficult position that no young player wants to face too early. In a WTA 125 tournament, the scenario is clear. If she wins, she'll earn 125 points, a safe, low-risk accumulation, just enough to maintain her upward momentum. However, at the China Open, just one first-round victory brings in more prize money than winning a 125. And if Eala goes deep, the reward isn't just money, but a spectacular leap in the world rankings. On the surface, this prospect is full of promise, but the downside is more brutal than any number can express. An early loss in Beijing would not only cost Eala points, but also precious match rhythm. More frighteningly, it could erode the most priceless asset of a young player: self-belief. A WTA expert once analyzed, it's better to build confidence with small wins than to rush onto a stage that can swallow you whole in just one loss. But not everyone agrees with this view. Another group of experts counters: if you don't dare to take a risk at age 20, you'll always be on the sidelines. Opportunities like the China Open don't come twice, and only those who dare to step into the fight are worthy of changing the order. This clash of views has sparked a heated debate among fans and enthusiasts. On social media, countless comments question: should Eala continue on a stable path, accumulating points step by step to build a sustainable career? Or should she plunge into the big gamble, where just one major victory is enough to turn her into a symbol for an entire continent? The question isn't just about match strategy. It also touches on the very nature of youth in sports. Is success achieved through patience or through bold leaps? For Eala, this choice isn't simply between two tournaments. It's a choice between two career paths. The whispers behind the decision. Few people know that the decision to play for a young player like Eala is never entirely her own. Behind the spotlight is a complex system involving coaches, managers, and especially sponsors, people whose every move of Eala can directly affect their own interests. For sponsors, the China Open is a dream. It's not just a major tournament, but also an international stage televised live to hundreds of millions of viewers in Asia. They understand that a victory for Eala in Beijing, even just making it to the third or fourth round, would be enough to position her as a new commercial star of Asia. The brand logo next to the name of a young player from the Philippines would create a significant effect in an emerging market. But Eala's coaching staff sees a different picture. They know her body has just gone through a long season with a dense schedule. A coach revealed backstage, "We're concerned that Eala will be exhausted if she has to handle the China Open and the 125 tournaments at the same time. Her body needs rest to avoid injury, not to be pushed further into a spiral of pressure." To them, the most important thing now is not short-term glory, but long-term sustainability, so Eala can develop steadily for years to come. This conflict between a long-term sports strategy and immediate commercial ambition is the very spark for the whispers in the tennis world. Some believe that Eala is being turned into a pawn in a business game, where each match decides not only the outcome on the court, but also contracts, billboards, and commercial headlines. Conversely, others argue that this is a necessary step. If she doesn't seize the opportunity in Beijing, she'll miss the golden moment to establish herself. And right in the middle of these two opposing views, Eala must choose her path. The question is, will this be a strategic decision for a breakthrough, or just a concession to the pressure from forces outside the baseline? The luxury and the grind. The China Open has long been dubbed the red carpet of the Asian swing, not just because of the tournament scale, but also because of how the players are treated. The stars who come to Beijing are put up in luxurious 5-star hotels, with personal rooms prepared to their individual specifications. Meals are designed by professional chefs, ensuring the right nutrition for elite athletes. The recovery area is no different from a state-of-the-art sports hospital. Himalayan pink salt tubs, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and a team of specialists on call 24/7. To outsiders, this is a paradise that any player would dream of. But behind that glamour lies a brutal truth. With just one loss, all that luxury immediately turns into a gilded cage. The pressure isn't in the amenities, but in proving you're worthy of enjoying them. Every privilege lasts only until the last ball drops. Lose in the first round, and you'll have to leave the 5-star hotel in silence, leaving behind the lights, the audience, and a dream that never had a chance to take shape. A veteran player once said bitterly, "You can soak for hours in a pink salt tub, but if you have to face a top 5 player the next morning, all that luxury won't help you stay on the court for even one extra set." This saying clearly reflects the paradox of this tournament, a place where glamour and brutality go hand in hand, turning every match into a fragile line between glory and bitterness. For Eala, this experience is even more brutal. She is not just a rookie stepping into a WTA 1000, but also a face whose every move is being scrutinized by the media. Any small action, from the way she warms up, her expression when she leaves the court, to her demeanor in the press conference room, can become a hot headline. If she capitalizes on it, the spotlight in Beijing will become a springboard to global stardom. But if she stumbles, those same lights will magnify her failure, turning it into a cautionary tale for every young player who dares to dream big. So the question is, will Eala turn the China Open's red carpet into a launch pad, or will she let it swallow her up like a sweet trap? The pressure of a nation. In the Philippines, tennis has never been a shared dream. Basketball, boxing, and football always dominate the media and the hearts of the audience. But then, the name Eala appeared and changed everything. In just a few years, from a little-known teenager, she was elevated to an icon. The local press calls her the Manny Pacquiao of tennis, a comparison that shows how much expectation has been placed on her shoulders. Politicians quote her name in speeches, seeing her as proof that Filipino youth can compete on a global stage. Every one of Eala's matches is no longer just a personal affair. It becomes a national event. Cafes broadcast her matches live, TV stations provide extensive coverage, and every one of her victories is seen as a victory for the entire nation. But because of this, even a small loss is magnified into the collapse of hope. A sports psychologist commented frankly, if Eala loses at the China Open, it won't just be a sports defeat. It will be interpreted as a disappointment for the entire country. At 20, most players need time to try, fail, and learn from their mistakes. But for Eala, her home audience almost doesn't allow that. They want her to win now, to prove that the Filipino dream is real. This pressure can become a huge motivation, the thing that turns a young player into an inspirational icon. But it can also be a burden that crushes her will. A first-round loss at the China Open could make fans disheartened, sponsors withdraw, and even make her feel like she has let down her entire nation. So the question is not just how Eala will play in Beijing, but also, is the decision to participate still a professional choice, or has it become a national burden? This is the paradox that few dare to speak out loud. When a 20-year-old girl is forced to carry the dream of over 100 million people. The image versus the reality. On Instagram, Eala shines like a perfect star. The radiant smiles, highlight clips of her lightning-fast forehand, and international articles praising her are shared widely. For fans, this is the image of a young, confident player who is constantly moving forward. But behind the scenes, a different story is little known. An internal source once revealed there was a time Alex sat in the locker room, crying for hours after a qualifying loss. Meanwhile, out there, her social media account was still posting a smiling picture with an optimistic caption. This is the paradox of modern elite sports. Every pain is hidden, while every glamorous image is meticulously staged to build a personal brand. For Eala, this is even more brutal. She is not just a young player on a journey to establish herself, but also the face expected to become a symbol of all of Asia. Every moment she appears on social media is controlled, edited, and shaped to fit the narrative that the public wants to hear. The China Open 2025 will magnify this contrast to the extreme. If Eala wins, she'll be hailed as the new Asian sensation, a living testament to the dream of rising to global prominence. But if she loses early, the media could turn their backs immediately, turning her from hope into the next victim in a series of harsh headlines. That gap leaves a thorny question for the public. Are we truly witnessing the journey of Eala, a 20-year-old girl fighting between glory and pressure, or just a cleverly edited version to sell a beautiful story to the media and brands? In the end, the truth lies somewhere between these two extremes. A young tennis player who is both a flesh and blood person and a product of the modern media machine. The twist: when dreams clash with business. The seemingly simple decision to choose the China Open or stick to the original plan is actually a complex tug-of-war behind the scenes. For Eala, it's not just a professional choice, but a point of intersection between a sport's ambition and commercial pressure. A source on the tour revealed the sponsors have applied direct pressure because they want Eala's face to appear on the Beijing poster. It's a market of hundreds of millions of viewers. In their eyes, just making it to the third round at the China Open would be enough to position Eala as a new commercial star of Asia. For a young player, million-dollar endorsement deals not only change their life, but also open the door to joining the ranks of global icons. But the coaching staff paints a completely different picture. They see Eala as a 20-year-old who has just gone through an exhausting season, whose body has not fully recovered, and whose spirit is vulnerable after a series of intense tournaments. A coach whispered, she needs more time to build confidence and stability. Throwing Eala into the fire too early could ruin everything. To them, a sustainable career is more important than a short-term boost. This is where the real twist emerges. Eala's young career is not just decided by her powerful forehands or serves, but also by the invisible hands pulling her in two opposing directions. On one side is the sports dream, where every match is an opportunity to prove herself. On the other is commercial power, where every victory and every appearance is converted into market value. The big question is, who is truly in the driver's seat on this journey? Eala with her pure dream, or the backstage forces turning her into a pawn in a global game?